We just want to acquire more order while keeping TAC costs stable. Easier said than done, right? But this is tactically how we do it. We just focus on keywords where the constraint is not the conversion rate or the click-through rate, but the impression share. And then we implement tactics like single keyword campaigns, exact match, fixed bits to top search multiplier. That's it for today. What's going on, everybody? My name is Paul. Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're talking about if you can, again, grow sales and lower TAC costs and acquire more market share profitably while, just making sure that you are not exceeding your TAC cost goals. But like at the end of the day, in this video specifically, we're talking about on ASIN level how to granularly segment your performance data and basically unify a lot of like fragmented data sets into one source to make better decisions at the end of the day. Like we're basically using a framework like this, right? And this is basically just the same framework as tools Datadive might use. But yeah, like this is just the Cerebro export and like the ads data combined, right? So we use the search term impression share report, but you can also include the search code performance report or like other data points that you might be interested in. So at the end of the day, like I've marked our ASIN green. And again, this is based on the data from Cerebro. So take that with a grain of salt, right? It's pretty reliable, but like not 100% accurate most often. And at the end of the day, we'll just like always cross-check always be cross-checking multiple data sources, always, right? And this sheet is linked down below for free, so feel free to copy it. But long story short, this basically just shows us the keyword rankings per ASIN compared to the keywords. And then you can go ahead and let me put myself here and make myself a little bit smaller. And then you can basically just draw the search term impression share report and put it in the search term impression share report field. So you can basically identify potential holes in your game, right? Because most people always say like, yeah, we don't have any holes. I feel like we're pretty decent. We don't have any holes in our game. And, but like we have data to back up that hypothesis, right? So at the end of the day, you just have to get the export from Helium 10, right? And like it's also important to be aware of the fact that this is just the export for the specific search term that you draw from. So I would just go ahead and type in the search term into the search bar that is most reflective of obviously your keyword, but like just be aware that every search term is basically like a sub niche in the market, right? And you probably definitely have different rankings for each search term, but I would just like, because we want to stay simple, right? Because like complexity is the killer of execution. We want to keep things simple to act fast in order for us to make more progress. And I would just take the search term with the high search volume, right? That has the highest demand. But obviously, if you're like selling black shoes, I would drill down more deeply and go for like black running shoes if you're selling black running shoes. But now we just want to get our ASIN and like the top 10, revenue drivers in the sub niche for that search term and just evaluate where these ASINs are ranking for organically, obviously, right? You can also get more data points like, ads rank or but like at the end of the day, keep it simple, act fast, like paralysis leads to analysis. Sure, like you can have it really fancy and include more data points, but at the end of the day, I'm all for business intelligence, but we don't scale sales in Google Sheets, right? We scale sales to increasing our inputs, right? Because at the end of the day, the A9 is just a algorithm at the end of the day. So, and this is, shout out to Sam Ovens. This is where I learned this framework from. You probably have seen it, for example, from Charlie Morgan. If you want to learn more about this framework, check out this video. Here, check out this video where he basically goes into process, and I'm just like giving credit where credit is due, right? It depends on your personality type, but I just like to give credit to the original entity that I acquired the information from. So in this video, he basically talks about like inputs and outputs, right? That's just like at the end of the day, like data science 101 and feedback. So in the context of Amazon, the inputs are basically just, okay, the targets that we input into campaigns. And for example, we might change the bits that is an input into the system. And we might change, we might negate keywords and, launch new campaigns, add keywords to existing campaigns or add groups and whatever. So it's not rocket science, right? These are all of the inputs into the system that is the A9 algorithm. And then here, obviously, is the market that is basically like the competitors, supply and demand, all of these variables that also play into the performance. Because then we have outputs, right? The outputs are basically our sales data, impressions, click-through rate, clicks. And basically, that's not just the outputs, that's also like the feedback. So basically like also like clicks, cost per click, like everything, basically all of the performance data. And then obviously we use the feedback to refine and optimize the inputs, right? So this is basically like the system that we're talking about, like the context that we're talking about, because at the end of the day, it's just like cause and effect, right? There's this concept called, right? It's just causality at the end of the day. Causality 101 is basically cause and effect. And at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. So like the cause is basically all of the inputs are basically just like creating new campaigns, changing the bits and placements, negating like either like, or like pausing, reactivating campaigns, ad groups, product ads and keywords, and like negating search terms. That's all of the inputs that we can control, right? We cannot control the market. We can technically control somewhat competitors entering the market through like copyright infringement contingencies and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, keep it simple, right? Cause and effect is one mental model, but at the end of the day, another mental model is just, as we all know, right? It's not rocket science. It's just the Pareto principle. You heard me talk about this concept before, and we just want to control because like cause and effect, cool, but like there's different levels of cause, right? The 20% of actions or of cause that leads to 80% of the results or the outputs should always be prioritized, obviously, over the 80% of actions or causes that lead to 20% of the effect. So that's the same principle at the end of the day. So yeah, like long story short, this is the context, basically why we're talking about this sheet. So at the end of the day, you want to basically identify, obviously, make sure that you are basically vetting the keyword list, obviously, for relevance, right? We want to differentiate, obviously, between, exact relevance and like broader relevance, or like loose match, right? And close match relevance. And we want to have different, either you can segment campaigns into different buckets or whatever, however you want to do it, or like you pick on single keyword campaigns. At the end of the day, I don't like to be so close-minded and restrictive on, oh, this is the only way how it works, right? There's always multiple paths to the top, and whatever gets you results gets you results. So long story short, you basically want to identify targets that are obviously high search volume, close exact relevance, where we have majority of the ASINs in the top 10. And shout out to AMZ Ventures. Check out AMZ Ventures. That's one of the best, like, incubators or courses in the German space specifically. I don't know if they have an English course, but shout out credit where credit is due, right? But I basically built a sheet myself. So long story short, you want to identify targets where we have like ground to cover, right? Where they, let's just assume, okay, they're exact relevant here. For example, these three here. But obviously we can see that like our organic position is not as strong as the competitor. And obviously you will also want to look at, are we competitive when it comes to pricing, right? And are we competitive when it comes to ratings or like reviews in general? And also, for example, you also want to make sure that all of these competitors are exact relevant. For example, if you are selling tea, it's just an example. Are you selling tea that is loose, right? Or are you selling tea in bags? So yeah, I like to choose organic only and minimum 3, or you can go 5 ranking competitors. And then next, like the question that I have is, how is the ad sales data for those targets, right, in the last 30 days? So then you basically look at, okay, are we targeting, or like how are we like spending, and what's our performance for those targets, right? So in this scenario, you can see that these, obviously that's just an example, just a demo, right? But like you can see, okay, we have low visibility, close to like 0 spend. And you can also reverse engineer the impressions, right? For example, here, that's like, let's assume this is highly exact relevant, 2.3K search volume. We only have spent $2.69 in the last 30 days. We have 35,000 impressions. Obviously, we want to put this keyword into, like, we just want more clicks here. And like, we don't even have, no, we have 2 clicks, right? But 2 clicks in the last 30 days is not a significant data set to make to basically execute a logical contingency for that target. So at the end of the day, there could be a myriad of reasons why we have low spend, right? It might be in an auto campaign where the other targets are starving this target. And in general, auto targets obviously have the pro that they are good for harvesting, but you have less control and like no ability to steer the placement performance for that target. So what I would suggest is that you put it into a single keyword campaign, exact match with fixed bits, right? Check out my last video on why I think that for like, performance campaigns, fixed bits and exact match is way superior than for down only, especially when it comes to data and like business intelligence, right? But like, feel free to debate me or like disagree in the comments down below. And I'm happy to like, have a logical debate. But long story short, then you just want to curate a list of keywords that you want to push in a single keyword campaign, or either you increase the bit or you put into a new campaign. Who cares, as long as we get more clicks, right? And so number one, I would look for highly relevant keywords where we have low visibility. Next, I would obviously look at keywords where we have minimum 1 order and that are relevant. For example, here, this is relevant. We don't have the best, I know that this is just a demo again, but like I know that this in this demo is broad, so this is a broader keyword, but it's still relevant, right? So the conversion rate is good though. So yeah, like 84 clicks in the last 30 days. What is this? Crazy. Basically, again, I would then go ahead and look at the impression and our impression share, right? So, dude, we have a 17.86 click rate. Our conversion rate. The click rate is 0.24, and we don't even have 1% of the available impressions according to Amazon. Of course, I want more impressions in the pipeline, right? At the end of the day, this is just bottleneck thinking, right? A book that I can highly recommend for this is this here called Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. That's like one of the best books that I've heard, because at the end of the day, we just want to identify what is the bottleneck, right? And like, this is just revenue operations 101, but like, long story short, this is everything, right? I was a really average student, but like in physics, in economy, philosophy, I had straight A's, right? And everything in physics is just a pipeline. Everything has a transfer of energy, and there's always a constraint, right? And if you are familiar with, physics, or like, I guess, operations or revenue operations, but at the end of the day, they're all adopting the mental models from physics. Then that we might have like a pipeline, right, with like impressions. This is not beautiful at all, but like, this is just a funnel, right? And we then have like here impressions. This is so not beautiful, but you get the point, right? And long story short, like, we have a constant energy, basically a transfer of energy, but there's always something lost. And in physics, you will always want to, okay, that's a core concept and a mental model for physics. You always want to find the biggest constraint or the biggest bottleneck, because the chain is that's from the military, right? But the military is just like modeling basically like physics, because everything is just based on the rules of nature, laws of nature, right? That's like the first principles approach. And the long story short, the chain, or like the pipeline, is always just as strong as the weakest link. Meaning, in a pipeline, the water through a pipeline, right, can only flow as fast as the smallest constraint, right? That's not rocket science. It's just like physics 101. And this applies to everything, right? People are always thinking like, you cannot think in a box. Don't think in a box. Don't think, oh, I'm operations, oh, I'm marketing, I'm this. Everything, operations, marketing, customer service, is at the end of the day grounded in the laws of nature. So this systems thinking can be applied to everything. So this can also be applied to the pipeline of impressions to clicks, clicks to conversions, right? And like all the ratios in between. So we just want to find, okay, here the constraint is not conversion rate. We could say, okay, the constraint might be click-through rate, but I would say 0.24 for highly broad keyword is still really good, right? It's a really broad keyword. So I would say the constraint here is the impression share percentage. Okay, so again, now you could go ahead, because we don't see the performance for that keyword per placement without a single keyword campaign or without an AMS integration. So now my question would be, okay, where is majority of these impressions coming from? Probably from product detail pages and rest of search. So the contingency would be to put it into a single keyword campaign, fixed bids with a top of search multiplier, right? And then you want to go down the list, and because like people that might say, oh yeah, but like I just don't want to earn $3-4 more with one keyword. Yeah, sure, but do this across 200, 300 keywords, right? That's just like where people always say either, oh, think smart, or think or like work hard or work smart. How about we just do both, right? How about we just work smart and work hard? I'm just saying, right? So it comes down to unifying everything, just as we're just like unifying the data and not like dividing the data points, but like unifying it into one central unified sheet. So long story short, now, because at the end of the A9 algorithm is a black box, everybody tells, oh, the A9 algorithm is ranking for this and that. Don't know anything, because Amazon is guarding the A9 algorithm like a treasure, right? So obviously we can use common sense though and logical thinking. So if I was Amazon, I would rank the products the highest that generate me the most revenue, right? So that's probably a sweet spot between like price point and order velocity, and also like how reliably can you stay in stock, right? Because Amazon is forecasting too, so they're probably looking at historical conversion rates, click-through rates, and in-stock rates as well. So long story short, it just comes down to us, right? We just want to get on base. Moneyball, great analogy, and we just want to get on base, meaning we just want to acquire more orders, because at the end of the day, if you actually look at the export, right, then we can see that the products that generate the most sales are at the highest point, right? But it's not just about sales, it's also about price, right? So we want to acquire more orders. A good resource for that is also the search performance report. You can use that report too, but like, what I don't like about the report is that we just have the top 100 search terms, and like, not all search terms are reflected over all periods. But long story short, this is linked down below, and this is also where clean segmentation comes into play. Because if you have, right, search term level is the ultimate level. We have like account level, portfolio, campaign, ad group, product ad, keyword, and then search term level. So if you don't have single ASIN campaigns, or like at least single ad group for like placements, you want to have single ASIN campaigns, but like for clean reporting on ASIN level for the search terms, you can also work with a single ASIN ad groups. Only if you have single ASIN ad groups can you correlate the search term performance to the ASIN, right? Amazon does not give us this ability through the reports themselves. So you have to segment your campaign structure in a way that allows you to have like one ASIN minimum per ad group. Okay, then you can go into the search term report and basically aggregate the data based on, and you have to have the ASIN or any identifier, unique identifier tagging system in the ad group name. Then you can go ahead and correlate the search term performance per search term. Again, it's not rocket science. Yeah, we're not SpaceX. Yeah, we're selling products on Amazon. Sure, if you have hundreds of campaigns, it becomes rocket science, but like, keep it simple. We just want to acquire more order while keeping TAR cost stable. Easier said than done, right? But this is tactically how we do it. We just focus on keywords where the constraint is not the conversion rate or the click-through rate, but the impression share. And then we implement tactics like single keyword campaigns, exact match, fixed bits with the top search multiplier. That's it for today. Thank you for your time. My name is Paul. Again, this resource is linked down below. Feel free to comment, link, and share. And see you in the next video. Deuces!